Hi, it's Mark Lloyd from Property Master Academy. So this week I've travelled up north to the lovely Swinton Park Hotel in a place called Masham, lovely little village in the middle of nowhere, really lovely countryside. I'm just going to take a little swirl around the room I'm in. Pretty empty, rather spacious, called the morning room. You can probably see in the background behind me there a nice Bentley or two. So I travelled up north with my partner Michelle, short break, and whilst I'm up here, took the opportunity to come and have a chat with one of our mentees that joined our online program last year, Kate Roxburgh. So in a second I'm going to turn the camera around and have a chat with Kate. Hi Kate, so thanks for coming to meet me today at this lovely venue. Just wanted to ask you a few questions about your journey and things with PMA and your background, that kind of stuff. So perhaps to kick off with, can you tell everybody where you were before you joined PMA?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. This is the first one of these I've done, so it's very exciting. So my background, we've got a private tuition business, so we ran that in London for about 10 years before we moved up to the Yorkshire Dales. When we moved up to the Yorkshire Dales, I had a flat in London and we sold my partner's a house and bought a house in Yorkshire from those proceeds. So we had this two-bedroomed flat in London that we easily rented out, and we just didn't really get around to selling it, to be honest. That was kind of about as much thought that went into that. It was making a bit of money, paying for itself, so that was all fine. Didn't really think much more about it. Then we moved our tuition business up to Yorkshire. We had another business at the time as well. And then our middle son hit 16 and decided he wanted to go to music college in Manchester. And because of his age, it was difficult to get accommodation because he was doing like a degree, but a bit early. So then that gave me the idea of, well, why don't we look to buy something? And then we can rent out the second room to maybe one of his friends or something, pay the mortgage, it's all good. So that sort of was the first thing really that started me looking into property. And like I said, we had this flat in London. It was a good time. It was I bought in 2008, and by this stage it was about 2015. So it had already done kind of fairly well. And I think that process is what got me looking into property in a different way. And that was kind of the start of where I'm at now, I suppose.
Okay, so how did you come across PMA and what made you interested in what we do?
So, I'd been looking for mentorship for around about 12 months. In between, I started off buying the flat in Manchester, like I said, and then we went on to buy another 4 flats, but they were all fairly straightforward, what people like to call vanilla lets, nothing major. We got to the point of those 5 flats, and then we didn't really have any significant money for deposits, and yet by then I was really hooked. I loved it. I really wanted to get a lot sort of more into property, I suppose. I'd listened to enough podcasts, read enough books to know that there were lots of strategies out there. But I just felt that I wasn't confident enough on my own to push beyond where I was at. So I did feel that mentorship was a really good idea. As a teacher, I suppose, I'm used to being on the other side of that, of helping people progress. So I was fairly clear that the idea of mentorship was something that was really going to help me with that. But I am naturally quite reserved and fairly cynical, and therefore hard sales just don't go down well with me at all. In fact, they do the absolute opposite. So I was looking for a good group or a good mentor, and I was just coming across a lot of stuff on the internet, I suppose, that was selling me the world in a very short space of time at a reduced price. If you bought it today, and all of that stuff I just hated. So I was kind of getting really switched off to it. And then I came across the PMA website, just flicking through the internet, and I really liked it because it just felt a bit more professional, less of that hard sell, I suppose. So I filled in the online form, didn't really think I was going to get very far, imagined the type of person that was going to get in touch, if anyone, and kind of wasn't very hopeful. But actually, I got an email back from Mark within 24 hours, I think, suggesting that we had a chat and arranging a time to talk. So then I think that was possibly the next day or the day after. And I had a kind of a 45-minute chat with Mark, in which the thing that really struck me was that he listened to where I was at and what I was after. And the things that he was then coming back with very much reflected what I was saying I wanted, which sounds maybe obvious, but was not my experience at all from the last 12 months. So that really impressed me, and I really thought, actually, I can imagine working with this person in this company. And there was a rent-to-rent course that they had just started within the last month, and this was a strategy I was really quite interested in because of our kind of lack of deposit. And yeah, so I joined that course, and that was just short of a year ago.
Fantastic, Kate. And what were your results?
Well, like I said, we owned 5 what I would call kind of vanilla lets at that point. I remember saying to Mark on the phone, I just feel like I'm playing in the shallow end, but I don't want to jump into the deep end until I really feel that I know what I'm doing a little bit more. So I joined that rent-to-rent group. I think my first session, I think, was something like the 22nd of July. So I got my first 2 rent-to-rent deals by the end of August. I'd set up my company, set up my website, kind of all the admin side of things. I'd sent out a mail shot to 200 landlords, and I'd viewed lots of properties, and I secured my first 2 deals by the end of August. That was a 7-bed HMO and a 6-bed HMO. By Christmas, I had 5 rent-to-rent deals. So I had a 7-bed, a 6-bed, I had an 8-bed, and actually I had 2 3-bed flats, which were really quite profitable. And then now I've got 7 rent-to-rent deals, and actually I've just agreed my 8th. I had decided that I would just sit on the 7 until the end of this sort of business year, and just really work on our systems. But I got offered this 8th one, and it was too good to say no to, really. So that's another 7-bed HMO. We are profiting, once we take this 8-bed, we'll be profiting about £4,500 a month. Currently, we have 34 out of 35 rooms rented. And I've already got 2 people signed up for the deal that I've just signed on the back of what the rooms look like, basically, and our reputation. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
So that's amazing progress, Kate. So how does that make you feel?
Yeah, good. When I say that, I suppose I think I would never have believed that this time last year. I'm kind of a real systems person, and I try to be quite strategic, so I had very clear goals in place, and my goal was to have 4 rent-to-rents within the first business year, hopefully making a profit of £2,000 a year, and that would be 20 rooms. And once I secure this next deal, which should be the end of this month, that will be 8 rent-to-rents with 42 units. So yeah, from that point of view, I feel really pleased, really happy. I've also made some amazing contacts, maybe business friends, if you like, And that gives me a lot of confidence, just knowing that I can talk to people that are doing great things. But funnily enough, I don't know, maybe you always feel like this, but I still feel a little bit like I'm playing in the shallow end, but I wonder if that's maybe a personality thing rather than the reality. I think maybe it's good that you're always looking for something bigger. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with that.
Well, you're clearly not playing in the shallow end. So what are your plans going forward?
Well, so our kind of slightly longer term goal was I wanted to be hitting an income of £10,000 a month within 4 years. We want to set up a charity. We're quite kind of clear in our minds of that. And with that and our kind of usual monthly costs and a slightly nicer lifestyle, in order to be kind of financially free, that's kind of our goal. But actually, something that I didn't really think would come out of this is I'm a lot more interested now. So we invest mainly in Sunderland. I'm a lot more interested in sort of changing or helping to change the dynamics in Sunderland. It's quite a deprived city, and I think there is something that we can do as a business to be a part of the development of that city. So I guess that's quite exciting, and that's something I'm going to think a lot more about, and I'm thinking a lot about in the next month or two. So I think initially it was kind of about, if I'm honest, it was about the amount of money we could make, really, and getting that lifestyle and financially free and having more time for family and all the rest of that. But as it's gone along, it's turned into something quite a lot bigger than that, and that's really exciting.
Okay, so what would you recommend to people if were in a similar situation to them?
So yeah, oh gosh, lots of things. So I would say, first of all, certainly for me this was important, try and spend some time figuring out why you want what you want. So what it is you want and why you want that. I'm really clear on that, and I still have plenty of moments of feeling a little bit adrift and kind of having to remind myself of what we're doing and what we're working towards in order to determine whether a deal is kind of a part of that journey, a part of that strategy. So I think that's really important, and I probably spent, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe 2 years really focused on that and trying to figure out where we were headed and why we were heading there. So that's the first thing I would say. I think secondly, when you're exploring, whether it be PMA or a different group, just spend a bit of time deciding whether the people that are running it are people that you would get on with, that kind of give you confidence, and are just people that you'd enjoy spending time with, because you do, and if you really make the most of a group like the groups that PMA offer, you end up spending a lot of time with these people, and they'll probably be, hopefully, sort of lifelong friends, I guess. So I think that's really important. That's something I spent quite a lot of time focused on, and there was a lot that I didn't go for because I just didn't feel that they were maybe the people that connected with where I wanted to be and what I wanted. I would also say, certainly rent to rent, and I suppose quite a lot of property strategies, long term, they give you a lot of time freedom, but short term, you need to be prepared to really work hard, really work hard. I think over the last year, it's only recently that I've started having weekends off, or Sundays off anyway. I don't really stick to a working day, and I think a lot of my success has been about the fact that I'm naturally quite hardworking, and I've really kind of had that in my mind of going, you can't be looking to take time off from this, you have to give it everything. So I think that's really important. Now I've hit a point, even though I'm on 42 units, where actually some weeks it doesn't take any of my time. I have all of my properties managed. Some weeks it might take a couple of hours, but actually it doesn't take a lot of my time at all anymore, but it did. And I think that's a really important thing to bear in mind.
Appreciate that, Kate. Kate, thanks very much. Thank you. So there you go, a little chat with Kate Roxburgh. Her details will be below. If you've got anything to add to this, please post in the comments below. But also, please make sure that you like and hit the notification bell above and subscribe to our channel. On the screen in the next few seconds, there'll be some videos coming up which will help you on your property journey.